Hey guys, my name is Dan Hurd. I am RidewithDanUSA. A lot of people know me as Lieutenant Dan. I'm also here to show you guys this brand new bike and gear setup that I just used on my bike packing trip in California for the LA Aqueduct. This setup is a brand new setup for me, meaning everything except for this bag. With this setup, there was a lot of things new for me, because if you check out any of my old videos, you'll see I do not care about weight. And this is my smallest setup to date. Just a quick overview before we break down each bag. We have my extra gear I need, whether it's an extra pair of outfit, socks, jacket if I'm not wearing it goes in here, my sandals and hat. This is stuff that I will use throughout the day or during breaks. In the middle here is a lot of my weight. I try to keep the majority of the weight in the middle of the bike. This is where I keep my batteries for overnights, for tools, my medications that I need. Food goes in here as well, and extra batteries for my GoPros and my cameras. Also, I carry a spare hydration pack in here so that if I'm going through an isolated area, I can carry about 2 extra liters with me, which can also ultimately go on here. With that, I have another tank bag here. This tank bag has all my electronics, needed stuff, batteries so I can do quick changes while I'm riding, my GoPros, also my USB cords and plugs that I will use throughout the day, and chapstick goes in this bag. I have my drink bag and a feeder bag. I like to have 2 of them, one so I can have my snacks readily available. For this trip, they were sour gummies, because in case you guys didn't know this, sour gummies have sodium in it. So it's a good resource to replenish those salts that you're draining. I carry my 1 liter water bottle, which is a hydro pack with a filter on it, which makes it so that even if I'm getting water from a stream, I can filter it and drink it as I go. From there, I changed this bag out for different things. For this trip, we used it for food. I carried extra food in here. I wasn't really sure about this trip or the route itself because it was a new trailblaze. So I wanted to ensure that we had extra supplies if needed, and that's what this was for. And in the front bag here, we have my overnight bag. I call this I don't open this until the day is done, until I'm ready to set up camp. This is where I keep my bivvy, my sleeping gear, my change of clothes, my toothbrush, my brush, everything I need for overnight is in this bag here. Let's take an opportunity to break them down. I forgot one. I have a small bag up here with my salsa everything. That will carry my silverware, a knife is in that pack, and any other miscellaneous things that I can fit into it will go in there. In the front of it, there's a little tiny zipper bag, which I like to use for trash until I get to the next place, because we all create trash, and we got to take it, carry it in, carry it out. You got to do that. Let's start in the back of the bike, and we'll work our way to the front, but the most important thing last. With the backpack, I got this really cool bungee system here. I got it on Amazon. It's just really nice to be able to add extra things that I don't need in my bags that I don't really care if they're waterproofed. But also if I'm wearing my clip-in shoes, I stop for a break, I can quickly access my sandals or my hat when I take my helmet off. That's what this is great for. And then on the top of this bag, I carry my Zero sandals. These are the smallest sandals I've ever owned. My normal sandals that I would love to use are just so bulky, and they're great size ones for riding in, but they just take up so much space for a bike packing setup that it's impossible. So Zero sandals, very small, very efficient. The other thing that I have had here, I've had this hat, I would say for 12 plus years. This hat has been with me while I was in the service, and it's been with me since day one of my biking journeys. It's something that is one of the only things that will always be with me. I keep it because it's great for shade. It's great just to represent who I used to be. And with that, I also have all these pins that I collect, and I add them onto the hat as I continue my journeys. So almost a souvenir collector. Now let's open up the bag here. Something else that I would like to mention is most of my bags here are Green Guru, which are a boulder company in Colorado. Great company to have and support. But I also have even a smaller company called Strada, which makes these bags for me here, my feeders. They're really great. They use a lot of recycled materials, tires as well. I just really enjoy them. Oh, and then also the Salsa bag here, which is the everything bag. It's something new for me, but it was suggested by a friend of mine, Brian Van Duzer. So that's why it was important for me to have this one. And it's huge. It has so much space. So in this bag, I carry my cycling gear. This happens to be dirty because of the ride that we were on, but riding pants, riding shirts, and under stuff, I like to wear wool, merino wool. So this is icebreaker for me. It's a good base. It helps with the sun protection and also breathability. So I really like wearing those. Something I've gotten into recently are these Jaywalker pants. I'm wearing a pair now. What's cool about them is they're stretchy. They have a lot of stretch in them, so for people like me that have giant quads, I usually have to buy a pair of pants a size up for my waist for my legs to fit. These eliminate that situation, and if I ever need to put on like extra layers, these pants allow it for that room. These are my mountain biking pants. I wear these Fox pants a lot of times when I go mountain biking, but I also like to carry them in cases like this on bikepacking trips because they're water repellent. They're not waterproof, but they do help protecting you from the elements. And so these are like my extreme weather things. Something else that I love to use is sleeves. These are my legging sleeves and my arm sleeves. This is just an extra fleece line barrier to keep the weather off of you. And if you get to a point where I like to start the day with these on before it gets warmer or before my body temperature builds up, I can slide these off without being naked or exposing myself to the world. I also like to carry a pair of shorts. I like to have pants for sun protection and everything else, and these are great for breathability, but a pair of shorts is always nice to have whether you want to go swimming or it's a beautiful day and you want your legs to get some sun exposure. So I carry a pair of shorts with me. It's got a lot of pockets for extra things. They're great to have. Socks are always important. Having the right socks for the right adventure is huge. This past trip, we thought it was gonna be cold. I had my waterproof wool socks, my wool socks to help keep my temperature up. And then I brought a couple pairs for warmer weather. I didn't even use these because it was so warm, but I'm glad I had them just in case. So making sure you have the right socks, the right gloves, and the right equipment for your adventure and for the weather and everything that you're involved in, and being prepared for all other types is key. Something else I like to keep in this one, toilet paper, because you never know where you're gonna need it. I don't typically like to use toilet paper, but it's always good to have. I like to use wipes. They're moisture, it's like cleaning yourself as you wipe. You can use those as well to wipe your body down if you're not near water. And then I carry a spare tube. I am running tubeless on this setup. And quite honestly, these tires are so tight, I don't even know if I could get them off, but it's always good to have a spare. And there's the green Guru bag. That's the seat post bag. Very large. It's got a great setup in there. It also has another little space in here if you need to put your wallet or ID information or anything quickly accessible. Great place to have it. Well, there's bag number one. Up here, you see a cover on this seat. It's a leather seat. It's a Brooks saddle. Suspension on it. I don't remember which model this one is. It was given to me, but great seats to have. I don't wear padded shorts, as you guys can probably notice from my setup. So this seat makes it so I don't need those. I don't recommend it for everybody. I've done almost 30,000 miles on a bicycle. I got calluses. Just keep that in mind. Inside the frame bag, we got a lot of stuff, and some of this stuff's I had an explosion of my emergency cramp pills. So there's some white powders on them. Don't get your minds twisted. Very important. If you guys haven't noticed on this bicycle already, it is a belt drive bicycle. Something that's really also cool about it is it's got pinion. We'll talk more about that later. But a lot of times we have to carry spare links or a chain or something in case of emergency. I carry a spare belt. You never know when you're gonna need it, and you're better off having it than being stuck in the middle of nowhere without it. My 2-liter hydro pack sits very small when it's not in use, and it's great to just have as a backup water source. Various snacks that I have left over. I like to carry these little packets because they're easy to stack in. Chicken, tuna, salmon, they're really great to have. And then I get corn tortillas, really make that feel like I'm eating something more than just out of a pouch. And they're great. They're easy to carry. They're not heavy. Something else that I've gotten into recently are the Bobos. BBJ sandwiches, they're different, but they are calories. They are a resource of energy. So they're great to have among all the other things that you can carry. My first battery is here is the Goal Zero. I got this battery initially because of my dyno hub on my other bike, Jones, which I used on my lower 48 states. This power is great because it will charge and use power at the same time. And it's designed for solar, which is equivalent to a dyno hub. So it's really great resource. And this one's even cooler because it has a Wi-Fi charging capability. So in case I don't have enough chargers to charge my phone after I want to get all the other essentials done, I can still charge. And this is I believe a 20,000 amp hour battery. So it's got a little bit of weight to it, but it is worth it. GoPro light in case I'm filming at night. Also, great extra source of this is it's a extra power. So it's got a 5200 mega amp battery, which is awesome. And also it's got a light system that has 3 different phases and an SOS mode, which really gives you the ability to be safer if needed. Also got extra parts, extra batteries for the GoPro, because you never know what's gonna happen. Next, we got those pills that I was talking about. I use sport legs. These are great. I take usually 3 in the mornings to get going. If I feel like I need them throughout the day, I can take them and not feel bad. This is my medication bag where I keep all the necessary meds I need. I keep chamois butter here as well. I've had this chamois butter for a long time. I've never used it, but it's great to have if you're riding with a friend that runs out, like Trent. Also, something that I like to keep as an emergency, even if I get more, are liquid IVs. Something that I had issues, especially at Ragbri last year, was staying hydrated and having enough salts in me, essentially. So keeping an extra few packs, even if you get more and you put them somewhere else, they're really great to have as a backup. I carry an inhaler and I keep my pain medication as well. Something I always carry with me that I've learned because I am a sweaty dude is I carry baby powder. It is great to absorb any moistures in certain areas where you don't want to get chafing going on or sores of types. So baby powder is great. It's also good for socks. Baby wipes, like I mentioned before, these things are great. Doesn't matter what brand they are. This is just the cheap ones that I got at the gas station on my way here, because I forgot mine. But they all work. They do great stuff. They clean you up and keep it moving. And the last 2 things in this is I always, this is not a full bottle, but I try to keep about 2 ounces, whether it's this bottle or a smaller bottle, of sealant so that I can allow myself to add it if necessary. If you get a puncture, sometimes it leaks out a little bit more than you want. So it's always good to have this in place. This is my first backup, then the tire tube is actually the second. I don't carry a pump with me anymore. I've upgraded. I would say I upgraded to CO2, and I use a CO2 with a gauge on it from Specialized, and it actually allows it so that you can see what you're pressuring it up to. And what's also cool about this is it's got a trigger point, so if you don't use all the gas, you can potentially save it for later use. And then all the tools that I got in here are for this bicycle. What's really cool about this bike is I normally would carry a Crank Brothers or a Park Tool style setup where it has the multi-tool system. I didn't do that on this system because most of the tools that came with this bicycle actually came with Priority's bike. So I didn't actually have to go out and buy something that wasn't necessary for this. And this bag here is the Green Roo frame bag. This bag was originally designed for this bike, I believe, which was in collaboration with my friend Ryan Van Duzer. So these bike frame bags are great for this bike and actually really any style acute triangle frame. In here, in this tank bag, again, I just keep a lot of my electronics in here. So all the wires that I will need throughout the night to charge my watch, to charge my phone, to charge my lights that I need. If I'm in a power place, I have power. So that's great stuff to have. Always important to make sure you bring what you need to charge your stuff, because especially in our world today, not many of us carry paper maps. I carry a lip balm, my classic lip balm that I use. This is I like to carry sun blocking versions as well. I didn't bring it on this one, I left it in the truck. But it's always good to have something to just kind of re-moisturize your lips. This will help recover that a lot faster. And the last thing I carry in this one are just some more batteries. More batteries that I can get to real quickly and allow myself to switch them out, usually while I'm riding, so I don't have to slow down or stop. And I can just quickly grab it, change out the battery, put the old battery in the bag, and move on. So what I really like about this bag from Green Guru is, one, if you haven't noticed, I purposely got different color bags for every one of these bags that I use. Nothing matches, and I love it. But something about this bag that I really enjoy is that it straps. If you can see from here, I have 3 screw points to actually do a mounted tank bag. And I'm not a huge fan of tank bags that get mounted, primarily because I like to stand up. I like to kind of rest my knees in that area potentially. When I'm turning the wheel, this bag will hit that a lot of times and kind of push it over, putting a lot of stress on that bottom points where you have your bag bolted to. Also, what's really cool about having straps is if you ever need a quick recovery, a quick saving, and somebody on the trail helps you out, and you need to take all your gear off, a lot faster to take this off than to unscrew everything. So keep that in mind on quick ability and adjustability. So on my Strada stole bags, these are pretty big. I think they're liter bags, so they're pretty good size. They carry a Powerade bottle, Gatorade bottle. They carry this 1 liter collapsible bottle, which is what I like to use, with a filter. Always good to have your filter with you, whether it's on this system or a gravity fed. And there's other systems out there that allow for filtrations to happen. So making sure you have a filter is key. I like to have it together because it takes up less space. In my feeder bag, I keep a little tiny spare battery, which is just an Anchor. Anchor has been a company that's been around and proven to be a good battery source for a long time. So this is just a quick one to charge my phone as I'm riding if I'm, taking a lot of photos or communicating through socials and stuff like that. This just makes it so I can get to the end of the day without losing my maps or my sources until I get to the bigger power. Something that I swear by is pickle juice. I use this stuff so much that I actually drink the bottle and I will buy pickles and refill it myself because I get a huge amount of cramps typically, no matter what I do, unless I'm eating gummies this time. But so having pickle juice for me personally, I find that it helps replenish my sodiums, get the little bit of water that's in here to the muscles and opens up my blood vessels with the vinegar. I could be in a full body cramp and then 10 minutes later, I'm back to riding because of pickle juice. So I always carry pickle juice. Something else that I like to carry is just a cup. I like drinking tea. I don't drink coffee, but for those that do drink coffee, these are great to have because they don't take up a lot of space. I put this in my feeder bag at the bottom, so it doesn't take away the space that I need to actually reach my snacks. And I don't use it very often, but it's good to have it. It's a nice coffee cup, tea cup, hot water cup, whatever you need it for, it's available. Strada sole. These are really great bags. They got a collapsible sleeve here so that you can actually tighten things around it if you have a bottle.
Are those bicycle tubes?
Yeah, so at the top, they're bicycle tubes. They use tubes on the sides as well to kind of use as a reinforcement. A lot of the material they use is recycled fire hose material. So that's why it's really great durability. I like these so much that I bought these myself. The first pair that was given to me by Strada, by Jason himself, was to get me back on my lower 48 journey. I still have them. They're still amazing, and they're worth it. So if you get them, check them out, Strada sole. Now, let's start with the overnight bag. This bag is kind of a new setup for me. I've been used to doing tents or campers or anything else, but this setup I wanted to be compact, I wanted to be tight, so I actually got a bivy sack. Before we get to that, essentials for me, a toothbrush and toothpaste. You always want to make sure, even if you're by yourself for a week, hygienically, it's good to keep yourself clean, keep your teeth clean. It makes it so that you just feel good about yourself. Something else that I need because of my hair, and for women that are riders, you also may, or even men with long hair, you get what I'm saying. It's very difficult to find brushes like this. I found this at my local grocery store at King Soopers. And it allows it so that it's just a hand palm. It removes the stem. It takes up space. And this one's really cool because it's a wet brush or a dry brush. I can use it right now with my dry hair, which I don't recommend usually with curly hair, but this actually doesn't pull on my hair. Something else I really enjoy about it is it's just compact. It's easy to hide. I can stick it in here. I don't really mind if the bristles get pushed on. It's plastic. It was inexpensive, but it gets the job done. I don't know about you, but I don't like sleeping. I used to. I slept in the clothes I would ride in. It was just not good. So it's important as an experienced long time traveling cyclist to have spare clothes to sleep in, get out of the clothes you're riding in. I know sometimes, especially in the cold, it's not fun, but it's necessary. So I carry a t-shirt, which happens to be the Get Out There t-shirt from Ryan Van Duzer to support the Dream Team, which is an awesome organization to help out through RAGBRAI, get kids on bikes. So I love to support that, and I love to show it off. And it's also really great cotton, so it's really comfortable to wear. I bring a pair of shorts with me. These are just knockoff shorts. They're sporty, so they don't get that absorption, and they're just really easy to maintain. And then I use long pants as well, just in case, but these ones happen to be yoga pants. So they're very thin, but they actually hold a good amount of heat if necessary. This is my sleeping pad. This pad is honestly from Amazon. It was something that I found pretty quickly. It was accessible quick. It's pretty inexpensive, and it did pretty well. The only thing that I didn't like about this setup is the inflation-deflation system that they have installed. It's literally a rubber flap. This pad is 1 inch thick. It is the smallest pad that I've had in a long time. It takes about 5-7 breaths to blow it up. The next thing I got is just kind of loosely in here. It kind of fills the gaps, and that is my quilt.
It rolled into the other side.
Yeah. So I stopped using sleeping bags a long time ago. I found them to be inefficient for my usage. Even when I had a sleeping bag, I would typically leave it unzipped and just keep my feet at the bottom and kind of leave it open on the side. It just made me feel not as restricted. If you know what I mean, definitely leave a comment. But I use quilts. What's cool about these quilts is that they as well can fold up into a style of sleeping bag. They can go underneath if you have the straps, which I forgot at home, but they can go underneath your air pads so they really stay to you. And right now it's kind of deflated, but in about 10 minutes, this will be fully inflated and ready to keep you warm. And what's cool about this company, Enlightened Equipment, is when I got this thing, it was rated for 32 degrees, but you'll survive at 0, it said. So I thought that was really cool that it gave you the rating that they recommend it for, but I've taken this thing to about 10 degrees and I've slept fine. Something I keep is extra bandanas. I like to wear something to keep the sweat out of my face. It also makes it so I don't have the helmet directly on my skin. These are Junk brand headbands. They're great. I have probably about 25 of them of different styles and different varieties between winter and summer styles. They're just great to have as a barrier. Second to last thing in this bag is the Aqueduct. This is my bivy system. The first time I've used it on this trip, and it was actually really comfortable. The only thing I didn't like about it is that my face area where the bivy kind of collapses to was kind of exposed for bugs. Thankfully, I found an alternative and used my jacket to fill the hole, and it actually created a nice warm barrier for me. But in the future, I will be getting a mosquito net just to kind of give me an extra layer of barrier. But overall, this thing was great. It has 2 zippers, so you don't have to be trapped on either side. It's got a strong base at the bottom. Doing great. And the last thing in here is a tiny little pillow that I borrowed from Trent. This pillow was amazing. I'm actually gonna go get one of these because it's about 1 inch thick and it's about this big overall. It takes about 2 breaths to blow up, but it gives you just a little bit piece of like pleasure. And I think that's really important. You know, if you're out here doing this, it's type 2 fun usually. If you know what I mean when I say that. It's type 2 fun. You enjoy it when you're done. It's kind of miserable during the whole thing in some ways, even though it's enjoyable at the same time. Having these little pieces of pleasure really make it worth continuing. And this here is the Salsa Everything Cradle bag. This was actually really awesome to have. It takes up a lot of space. It gives you a lot. It opens on both sides, which I enjoyed because if I wanted to get to, for instance, when we were staying in hotels, I didn't need this bag, but I still wanted to brush my teeth, still wanted to brush my hair, maybe even have my change of clothes. So just being able to open up one side without taking everything out and knowing that most essentials were right where I needed them was really key. This bag here, again, it's just got some miscellaneous stuff. It's got Q-tips, it's got my my spoon and silverware, and a utility knife and multi-tool. So that's really great to have. Again, this zipper I like to use for putting like my wrappers and trash, so I'm not contributing to that. So yeah, small bag, great to have in the front of that and the salsa there. The last thing that we have before we get to, one of the last things we have before we get to the bike itself is my helmet. I wear Burn helmets. This helmet company has been with me since day one. They're from my home state of Massachusetts. And when I got into my accident, I swear that my head survived because of the helmet. I reached out to them. I continue to wear their helmets. I love them. I appreciate them. I value their innovations with the helmet. And I like the fact that I can use their helmets on multiple sports. It doesn't look like a bike helmet because it's not just a bike helmet. It can be used for skating. It can be used for snowboarding. It's really like a universal style helmet that I really enjoy. Something else that I really enjoy about these helmets is I don't have to wear those cycling hats because it's built in. So if I don't want that shade in my face, I can flip it up and it just sits there and does its thing. So it's really cool. Sometimes you just need to zone out. Wearing a pair of headphones is always nice just to kind of block out the wind, the continuation of something that just doesn't seem like it's changing, really good things to have. Not necessary.
What were some of those moments on the trip?
On this past trip, some of those moments were the windmills. Just putting my headphones in definitely made it so that I could look at everything, see it, but I kind of blocked out the wind noise, which kind of, after about 5-10 minutes of hearing the wind just blow in your ear, it gets exhausting. So those are really great, as well as I have a fear of cars to some degree. I don't allow it to stop me from riding, but having a headphone into my non-driving side so I can hear cars coming at me, kind of gives me a peace of mind that at least it's distracting my mind from the chaos that's happening around me. I enjoy them, something I didn't have on my New Mexico trip, which I regretted, and I'm glad I had it on this one. Glasses, I don't like to wear them often, but they're necessary at times, especially at night and high sun times. What's cool about these glasses, I bought them on Amazon and they're transitionals. So you can actually like check that out. I like this brand so much because they're cheap. They're, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I've had glasses like when I turn around, they come right off my face and get destroyed. I don't want to spend $200 on a pair of glasses. These are great for that reason. I like them so much, I've actually gotten them for people and given them as gifts. And I've had probably 5 or 6 pairs of them in my last 6 years. So really great pairs to have. So the last thing that I have to show you before I show the bike off is this sign. If you've been following my channel at all, you know this sign is important to me. I've had this version of a sign of this since Philly in 2018 when it was given to me from the PMA bike rides, and since then has become kind of a staple to who I am. People may not recognize me, but they always recognize me because of this sign. And it's an important message. It's a message for me that make a stranger smile. We are all strangers to ourselves. And if we can make ourselves smile and then potentially pass that on to somebody else, radiate it to somebody else, we're doing pretty good in our lives. My purpose is that. Make strangers smile. I'm the first stranger of the day. If you don't think you're a stranger, that's really good. You know yourself that well, but I don't. And I'm learning every day something new about myself. So it's an important message. It's also for my nonprofit, the One Pedal at a Time movement, which is for suicide prevention. You guys can check that out through the links. And it's just really a simple message with a simple smiley face, but you see it, whether we talk or not, people start smiling. So I love it. It's very emotionally loving for me. Okay, well that's everything on the bike. Next, let's talk about this bike here. Something if you guys haven't noticed yet, which I hope you have, is again, this is a belt drive bicycle. It's got a pinion gearbox here as well. If you guys know anything about pinion, they're amazing. They do really well internal gearing stuff. This is a 12-speed pinion gearbox, which allows for, in comparison to like another mountain bike, it's about 600% ratio for climbing, compared to your average 5 to 550 for standard gear chain driven bikes. So it gives you a little bit more ability to climb. And what I really like about this is if you're like me, I forget to shift down or properly shift to where I need to be when I'm coming to a stop. And then you're like, crap, I'm in the hardest gear. What's cool about pinion gearbox and about belt drive bikes is there's no derailleur, so there's no damaging if you shift. I can go to gear 1 and shift it right from here, and it's not gonna affect anything that I do. So yeah, that's 0 right there. That's gear 1, and I just shifted to gear 12, and you didn't even know it. But the bike feels it as soon as I start pedaling. This bike was designed by Ryan Van Duzer in collaboration with Priority Bicycles, which is been a company now for about 10 years. They've got a lot of different varieties of bikes, between kids bikes to cruisers to fixies to racing bikes to adventure bikes and gravel bikes. So there's a lot of options. They got more and more coming out every day or every year. And with this one, it was really a key factor for our journey. Keep going. Something that's cool about this bike is it's designed to carry weight. It's really designed to do the Continental Divide. And it makes it so you can carry a lot. It's designed to carry a lot. So when we were on our trip this past week, we ended up having to switch bikes, which was not expected, but glad we had the option. Trent had a gravel bike from Apollo, which is an amazing bike as well, but it's designed for about 280 pounds without gear. And we were over that limit before we even started. So after day 1, after having some issues, we switched bikes and made those corrections and continued on our journey, which wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have this adventure cycling bike. It's really awesome for the fact that I'm a medium-sized person, so this is not the smallest bike they have, but it's a medium. And Trent is a larger guy. He's a Viking, if you know who he is. And so having the ability to raise this seat to make it a large for him to be able to ride it really made this ride more enjoyable. Cool thing about this bike as well is they got disc brakes on both sides. They have really great tubeless ready tires. They may or may not already be ready for you, but they are tubeless ready. And what's really cool about this bike is the numerous amounts of mounting points. They have mounting points on the back, the sides, the top tube here, the inner tube, all around on the bottom here, on the bottom of this. There's so many places to add gear to this bike. You can't have an excuse that you don't have enough spots. The really cool thing about this bicycle is the fork system. Typically forks are in an opposite direction, but Ren makes reversed forks where the spring portion is at the bottom, which actually allows the seals to stay constantly wet. Whereas traditional forks will have kind of the liquid just below the seals and they get kind of refresh liquidated when you compress it. Also with this system, it's designed to have a fatter wheel on the front. So you can actually put a fat wheel of, I think it's 3.5 inches on the front wheel to give you a little bit more stability. And on the back, I believe you can also go just about 2.8. So you have options to increase the size depending on what your desire is. But with the standard tires it comes with, the 2.3s here, Goodyear, you pretty much can get through anything. What I really like about the quad lock is how it integrates into being able to just like lock it into place. Something I did on this setup was I added the shock absorber system into it with the adjustable lever ability so that I can put it at different angles, so I can put it in selfie mode or chasing mode. And with the shock absorbing attachment, it really gives it a better quality look. So I really am glad I got that and got to use it and try it out this time. Something else that I'm very fortunate for because of my friend Ryan Van Duzer giving me this GoPro was being the ability to give you guys better quality material. With that, this always kind of hangs out right here. It sits there, I can do different angles on it, and it makes it so that I can really just be quick release, quick access to it, and I can put it on anything. That's why I like this clamp. It's adjustable, it gives me where I want it to go. And if I don't want to clamp it onto something, it's a great handle to hold it onto. So, awesome things to have. The Salsa Everything cradles, I have one down here that gets mounted to the frame. It's a bolt style. Again, what's cool about these, it can be held for anything. It doesn't have to hold this bag, or it can hold a water bottle, it can hold fuel. It's cool because it's everything and anything. And same thing with here. This Everything Cage handlebar mount, which mounts to the actual handlebars, and they have different shims depending on the actual handlebar size that you have. But it allows it so that you have strong point. Like that thing is on there, it's solid, and it's not gonna move on you. And what's really enjoyable about this one is the extension it has on it, but it doesn't put pressure on your cables. A lot of times in my past and a lot of other systems that I've used, it kind of pushes into that spot and you're kind of dealing with that, which may not be bad for your system, but it's not overall great. So the fact that they accounted for that really was awesome. Something that I also haven't shown, I wear 510 shoes, whether they're flats or clip-ins. I love these style of shoes. I've been wearing them before they were Adidas and continue to wear them even after Adidas bought them. The only difference is now I have to buy the expensive pro ones to get the quality of what they used to be, which is still fine with me. These ones are awesome because they're waterproof, which was great for our last day. Just really strong durability. I'm so grateful for the first pair I got in Arkansas. Something else I like to do is I carry a backpack. This one happens to be my water pack. I've carried a backpack on my bike since day one. It's something that I'm just used to and accustomed to. On my bigger backpacks that I use, I usually have a barrier that I have built into it or installed into it so that it gives me an air gap, so it doesn't really make me as sweaty as you would think. But what I do like about them, it does give you that little bit of insulation. My back gets cold, whereas the rest of me can stay warm. This gives me that little bit barrier, and even if I get a little bit of sweat going on, it keeps me warm. I also like it because it gives me the ability to hold extra things. I can attach it like I did here for bracelets or extra gear. This is also where I like to keep my go-to things. If I get off the bike, this comes with me everywhere I go usually. So my wallet, if I need my keys, everything I need essentially is in this pack. What's cool about that pack is it opens up, and inside this I have my rain jacket. This rain jacket is outdoor research. It's the smallest jacket I've ever owned. I was actually really nervous that it was going to be waterproof or not, but it is. It actually did a really great job of keeping me dry on day 5, which we got caught in the rain pretty good. And it's just a really great jacket. Expensive, but worth every penny. I have a 3-liter container in here so I can carry a good amount of water with me on top of the liter and the extra 2-liter if necessary. And then inside here is another pouch where I just like to keep an emergency blanket, just in case. You never know if it gets so cold that just putting this on top of all your other gear will give you a little bit more warmth and stability. I like to have sun protection, also wind protection if necessary. Different layers of gloves, so if it got cold, I have my winter gloves. I also had regular gloves if necessary. A lot of times I like to ride barehanded because of the style of grips that I have. It just makes it so that I'm not getting soft in my hands. Is the best way I can put it. And then, what else? A cold mask and like a chill mask, I would call it. This one's really good for below 0. It's got the breathe holes. It was really beneficial when I bought it in New Mexico. And this one is merino wool. It's really nice just for keeping your body regulated temperature, but maybe not necessary for extreme cold temperatures or mild temperatures. It's kind of those great for end of winter, beginning of spring type thing, or late fall. And I think that's about it. So yeah, with that, that's my breakup. Everything in a pile. It's kind of crazy how much stuff we have that we can fit on these bikes, but you can fit it. And again, this is my smallest setup. So if you're looking at this like, how are you carrying all this weight? Just know I've carried way more. So if you guys haven't already, check out the videos about the ride that we did for California LA Aqueduct that I did with my friend Trent, or check out some other videos I have. But always remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. Thanks guys, and we'll see you again soon.